Hey, this is Eric with Black Swan Odysseys. Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new to the channel, Black Swan Odysseys is all about motorcycling. Motorcycle reviewing, product reviews, techniques, and of course, motorcycle rides. Today is a product review of hearing protection, specifically these little guys, these foam earplugs. Stick around. I think you'll find this to be a good one. So there's several factors that play into how much wind noise reaches your ears. Windshields, for instance, that'll make a big effect. And we all know if you duck your head down below, the wind noise is quite a bit less. How many of us have done that on rides where you receive a phone call, but you're on the freeway, have to duck your head down to get out of the wind to be able to hear the conversation well enough. Helmets play a big part too. Starting with a teacup helmet, obviously there's no wind protection to your ears at all with this helmet, and most would argue that there's hardly any protection to your head with this helmet, but that's another story. Full face helmets, generally they're pretty noisy. The manufacturer's main intent for that helmet is to protect your noggin, not noise reduction. Three-quarter face helmets. Actually, these helmets provide probably the most protection out of all the helmets. And the reason why is the seal on a good fitting three-quarter helmet goes all around the face, all the way around the neck, and provides a pretty tight seal. Now, how much of a decibel reduction? Well, that depends again on the helmet, on the proper fitment. But I've worn a three-quarter helmet that dropped the decibel rate noise reduction by 10 decibels. What they figure on the standard full-face helmet, you get a noise reduction rating of about 3 to 5 decibels. So it's basically nothing. And of course, the other major factor is your speeds and wind speeds. And at highways, traveling at 65 miles an hour and up, you're going to have 103 decibels to 116. And I argue that it can go even higher than that, maybe up to 119, depending on the amount of wind. If you're riding into a 30-mile-an-hour wind, and on top of that, traveling at 65 miles an hour, your noise decibel rating is probably going to be quite a bit higher. For hearing protection, there's quite a bit out there for motorcyclists. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the ear cups, the ear muffs, because that just isn't practical for what we do. We're looking at anything that is applied into the ear canal to stop or to limit the noise. I have tried all sorts of different types of ear protection, and we'll go through a little bit at a time. Let's first start with ones that were specifically designed for motorcycle wear, called the Moto Pros. You can see where it says hearing protection, and you can put different decibel levels in it. They're also touted as being reusable. Kind of gives you a little diagram there on there. I do a full review on these, but look at here's the thing: the noise reduction rating, 16 or 12 decibels. Wow, that's not very much, and that's why I didn't find these very successful. They do come with a cute little case and some more tips. I did a whole review on these. Go look on my website, you'll see. Here's an oldie but a goodie. These are silicone custom fit earplugs. Commonly you'll get these fitted for you at motorcycle shows. This one actually went to a hearing specialist. He made these for me, and
within the first year season ride, the tip broke off of this one. And they work pretty good. I think the decimal rating was up there in the 30 range. Here's the same thing, custom fit plugs, but with drivers in there so you can listen to some music. What I found is if they don't fit perfectly smooth, and there's a little bit of air gap that comes through, and so they are noisy. Here's a fun one. I don't know if you've ever seen this one, plug foams. I like the foam part on it. It does help. The problem with these guys is there's a stiff rod here, and that actually puts stress on your ear canal when it pokes in. I can feel it at the tip, and it becomes uncomfortable within about an hour or two of the ride. But as far as protection goes, they're right up there. I would say 30 decibels. I'll go online and I'll put in the comment section what their decibel rating, noise reduction rating is, according to them. And the nice thing about plug foams is you can get two different styles. You can use these silicone plugs, which across the board with any type of hearing protection, I've had little to no success with those. And then this is a standard foam plug, which I think is probably one of the best way to use the plug foams. Moving on down the list, you have the knockoff sheer noise isolating earbuds that just plug into your headset on your helmet or into your smartphone or what have you. They work decently. The reduction noise rating, I'm going to say it's in the 20s. The package doesn't say. These are all knockoffs, so they're not going to tell you anything worthwhile. The big thing about these is the sound quality is very poor. And then last but not least, the good old-fashioned wax plugs. And the whole idea behind these is you scrunch them to the fifth and stuff them in your ear. Big problem with these is there's no rebound. They don't press out. And so however you've scrunched them down in, that's the shape they stay in your ear. So you tend to get a little bit of an air passage through, and you get that whistling sound, which is obviously super hard on your ears. So as you can see, I've tested a lot of different brands of hearing protection. And each time, I keep coming back to the standard foam plug, and in particular the Howard Lights by Honeywell. These over time, after experimenting with all those different brands, these are the most comfortable and provide the highest level of noise reduction rating over any of those other devices that I just showed you. Oh, here's another one I didn't show you that I have. This one uses the tube system, so the driver's down here and then transmits through an air tube into the passage of the ear. They didn't work, and the reason why they didn't work is the wind noise would hit the outside of these tubes and it just negated the whole thing. All you heard is wind noise coming from the tube into your ears. Good thought though. The idea behind these is the old electromagnetic close to your head. If you're worried about that, they'll have these tubes. So the driver, which has the electromagnetic driver in it, is down by your chest versus up in your ear. Like I said, I tried it. Didn't really work out. This is where I found the biggest bang for the buck. This is 200 pairs. Sold on Amazon for $26.95. So you can't go wrong. If I use these only once per application, that's 200 rides. And I bought these in 2020, November of 2020, and I've still got, oh gosh, I'd say 2/3 to 1/2 of a box left. So lots of rides to go on these things. So let's discuss that, using these things over and over again. Two downfalls with using foam earplugs over again. One, obviously, is dirt and germs that you're placing into your ear canals. I haven't had a problem with that. I keep my hands fairly clean when I'm manipulating these things. If I'm gonna do something greasy, dirty, I'll wash my hands before I'll put these in my ear. The second thing, and the important part that I found with these, is all of these type of foam plugs have a certain amount of wax coating on the outside, and they do one thing. What they do is when you compress it, roll them into a kind of like a tight rolling cylinder, it holds that compression longer for you to stick that into your ear canal. If you didn't have that foam wax covering, these things would never compress and stay compressed long enough for you to get it into your ear. So thus is the thing. Some of the cheaper ones are the off-brand ones, so they either have too much wax, not enough. The other thing I noticed too is the quality of the foam. The cheap ones, the foam tends to be more abrasive, and that'll wear on the inside of your ear canal and create pain spots, just kind of an abrasion on the inside of your ear, because your skin in there is obviously very sensitive.
So one thing with the cheap brands that I've found is the foam is not as soft and pliable, and when that expands in your ear canal, it puts extra pressure on your canal, and that'll become an irritation point wearing those over a long period of time. The other factor that we have to take in consideration is if they're applied correctly. If you don't put the earplugs in right, they definitely won't work well. And in some cases, you'll actually create more of an issue than not having any at all. Let's see if we can find a noisy place to pull over.
Let's get a couple of terms out of the way. First of all, noise reduction rating. You'll see that posted on various hearing protection devices, anywhere from the foam scrunchies that we're talking about here have a rating of between 32 and 33, depending on the type of the foam device. Now, all this equates into how the device is worn. If it's properly worn versus improperly placed in your ears, will greatly affect the rating reduction. So with noise reduction rating, the government, OSHA, they never keep things simple. It's not that a reduction rating of 32 automatically means that if you're exposed to 100 decibels, it's going to drop it by 68 or by 32 decibels down to 68. It just doesn't work that way. There's actually a formula that's used to actual drop that you're going to receive. It's a simple math equation. What you do is you take the rating on the package. So let's say in this case it's 32 NRR, a noise reduction rating. You take that, you minus 7, and divide it by 2. So 32 minus 7 divided by 2 is 12.5 decibel reduction. So at the low end of highway noise, 103 decibels minus a 12.5, that gives you a decibel reduction to 90.5. And if you look at the high end, 116 decibels, that equates to a reduction down to 103.5 decibels. So with the experts saying that wind noise can be anywhere from 103 to 116 decibels of noise that reaches your ear, that's if you're traveling up 65 miles an hour or higher on the road. Obviously there's several factors that play into that. The amount of wind, the speeds you're going at, the type of helmet you're wearing, if you're using a windshield and so forth. According to the OSHA exposure chart for noise, if you drop it down to 100 decibels, you have anywhere from 1.5 to 3 hours of exposure at 100 decibels before permanent hearing loss is a possibility. And here's the wind now. And all these numbers only work if you're using the hearing protection correctly as the manufacturer talks about. So here's our foam scrunchies, our foam earplugs. And remember, there's a certain amount of wax on these to help compress and hold the compression long enough for you to get the earplug in your canal before it expands back out. So you just roll it between your fingers, like so. And And what I do is I like to reach over the top of my head, pull my ear canal straight by hanging onto my earlobe, and insert it. You want to insert it fairly deep into your ear canal, right up to the point where you just have enough of it exposed for you to pinch hold of it and to pull it back out. And I'll hold it open as the crinkling goes, and I'll start to get a good seal. Here's my right ear. Same thing, roll it between your fingers till you get that nice little compressed point on it. Place it in your ear, into your canal, get in as deep as you can, and what I do is I put light pressure on the end of the plug while pulling out on my ear canal to keep it straight. And as you can hear, the sound gets blocked out, the crinkling stops, and then you can release, and now you've got a nice tight feel. So I've just got enough exposed where I can pinch hold of it and pull them out. Here's another thing, we're taking these things out. Because it creates an airlock, it'll actually create a vacuum if you pull these out really fast. So I don't recommend you rip them out because that'll create pressure on your eardrum, which will hurt after a while. Just grab a hold of it lightly and pull it out. When the wax is rolled is removed and there's nothing left to keep them compressed, well, it's not going to hold tight enough in a compression to get that into your ear before it expands. And what typically happens is this bunches up and then folds over like that. And what that does, that creates an air void in your ear canal to allow sound come through. What I'll usually notice, and you probably do too, is you'll have that whistling sound in your ear when it's not correctly applied to it. And I kind of feel like that's almost worse than none at all. Looking at the OSHA action level chart, if workers are exposed to 100 decibels of noise or greater for a 2-hour period, OSHA requires the workers to wear some type of hearing protection. So if we're going down the freeway at highway speeds, 65 miles an hour or greater, that's what the experts say at minimum is 102 decibels in noise to up to 116. And I argue that it could be even higher depending on the wind levels and how much faster you're going and the type of helmet you're wearing and if you have a windshield. So these variabilities can make it can lessen it or greater it, just to kind of depending on what you're wearing and the type of bike you're riding and the type of environment you're riding in.
So anyway, you could see that hearing protection is not simple. There are numerous factors that affect the amount of noise reaching your ears, and there's numerous factors that affect the quality of the hearing protection. Obviously for us, probably wind noise is the big damager of our hearing. But I think there's some viable options out there to protect our hearing. And I think the foam earplug is probably one of the better ones to use. Fairly inexpensive, gives you a high level of noise reduction rating, easy to apply, and comfort. For the most part, these things, I get all-day comfort out of them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you got something useful out of it. I'm curious what type of hearing protection you use. Put it down in the comment section. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. I try to put out a video about once a month. And we'll see you on the next ride.